Moving on now, government officials this afternoon visiting the area near the scene of the tragic building collapse in Huruma, where up to 49 people died 2 weeks ago. The officials, led by Public Service Cabinet Secretary Sicily Kariuki, are expected to touch base with the residents there in the aftermath of the tragedy. Our reporter Timothy Otieno now joins us by way of phone. Timothy, what can you tell us about that visit today?
Well, Michelle, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the Public Service, Youth and Gender, indeed, was here in Huruma, and particularly at the Daima Primary School, where she was launching the Youth Empowerment Program, or rather relaunching, for that matter, the Youth Empowerment Project, and just urging the survivors and those who had been affected by the Huruma building collapse to join the NYS so that the government can be able to directly help them in form of empowerment and job creation for them so that they can be able to pick up their lives and move on, Sophia. But of course, this is just part of a bigger initiative by the government in regards to the NYS, the National Youth Service, that was relaunched by the president himself in Kisii about 2-3 weeks ago. Remember, Michelle, this is an organ of government that has been riddled with a lot of claims of corruption. If you remember the 791 million scandal that saw the Director General of the NYS, Nelson Gizinji, go home. The Cabinet Secretary who was in charge of the NYS, who had Docket was in charge of the NYS, then went home. Now there's new leadership, and just this is one of the programs, a similar one having been held in Kibera about a week and a half ago, to encourage the youth that the NYS is relaunching, to bring in new face, that the project is one that is really close to the Jubilee administration and one that President Uhuru Kenyatta is determined to ensure will create employment for the youth. Michelle, it's about 15 months to the next general election, and of course the Jubilee government, one of its key agendas was to create 1 million jobs annually when it got into power about 3.5 years ago. So the government is really keen on ensuring that this project does not fail. Of course, the Cabinet Secretary, Madam Sicily Kariuki, saying that measures have been put in place to ensure that the NYS cannot lose any more funds. Of course, mentioning that there is a biometric registry that has been put in place at the NYS to monitor all those who are involved with procurement and inventory matters within the service to ensure that the NYS operations can continue smoothly without further hiccup, Michelle.
All right, and Timothy, other than that, government officials had visited that site before, making many pledges, among them paying 2 months' rent for the victims of the Huruma tragedy. Can you confirm that that has actually happened?
Well, Michelle, the site in which this launch was taking place is actually at the Daima Primary School, which is a few meters from where the building actually collapsed. Now, most of the people within the vicinity have since moved out. Even as we were driving to this venue, we noticed that there was actually one bulldozer that we spotted, and the people within the area were not there. So it's really hard to determine if the money has actually reached those concerned specifically. But the Cabinet Secretary indeed had said it's not the last time she will be visiting the site, saying that next week on Tuesday, she will be here with the Director General of the NYS just to ensure that the process is going on smoothly and that the government money that has been set aside to reach to the victims indeed reaches the victims. And the Cabinet Secretary also challenged the area Member of Parliament, Sicily Kariuki, who is the Mathare Member of Parliament, that he needs to ensure that money set aside by government does reach the victims and the true victims, Michelle, because in the past few days, of course, there have been cases of people impersonating and pretending to be victims of the building collapse, yet they are not. So the Cabinet Secretary, as well as the area Member of Parliament, indeed challenging themselves that they will ensure that next week they come up with a register to ensure that each and every family that was directly affected receives the funds that have been set aside. Now, these are funds, Michelle, from the national government. There were funds set aside by the county government of Nairobi, and these are the funds that still remain unaccounted for. Members of the public whom we were speaking to for the better part of last week say that they had not received any information in regards to the money set aside by the county government for their own benefit, Michelle.
All right, thank you very much. That is our reporter, Timothy Otieno, reporting live from Huruma, where government officials visited the site of the building collapse, where up to 49 people died.